What an amazing privilege it was to speak to my next special guest, all the way over in Nashville. And for those of you who know me, I don't know how many of my friends actually watch this. They tell me they do, but I love country music. I absolutely adore it. Everything from Lonestar to Rascal Flatts, Russell Dickerson, Carrie Underwood. I love them all. I love country music. So to interview my next special guest, having listened to her music for years, is mind-blowing. It's been a crazy busy day with other interviews, online teaching, and lots of other things coming together just before Christmas. Lots of little projects. But I am so excited. Member of the band The Royal South and solo artist SaraBeth. Take a listen.
Awesome. So my first question for you is, where does your love of music come from?
Gosh, it was one of those things that music was always something that was a part of my life. Whenever you're a little kid and you listen to all of those We Sing tapes or whatever all of the children's songs, it was just such a big thing. I was in choir at my church from the time I was probably 5 years old. And so it just was something that I figured I was good at, I really enjoyed, and it kind of snowballed from there.
Yeah, amazing. So who were your musical influences growing up then?
So I actually wasn't allowed. I come from a very conservative family, and they are Southern Baptist, which is very prevalent in the southern part of the United States. And so my parents were pretty strict, and I was really only allowed to listen to it wasn't no top 40 music. That was like pop music was out. Okay. I used to love going to my friends' houses in elementary school because I could listen to it there. Yeah. Now, I was allowed to finally get the NSYNC and Backstreet Boys and Britney Spears CDs, but that came a little later. But I guess, so I only listened to like light rock and Christian music primarily, and some country. But then as I got older, my influences really were a lot of the women in the 90s in country music. So 90s and into the 2000s. So the Dixie Chicks, who are now the Chicks. Shania Twain was a big one. I loved a lot of older country music as well, but it was primarily country music. I also really love Amy Grant, who started in Christian music and kind of went over into the pop world. So
yeah, amazing. So describe your journey from like being ambitious and young and performing and to where you are now. Did you want to be a singer?
I did. Well, I started out, I wanted to be a nurse, but then at the age of 5, I realized you would have to deal with bodily fluids, and that terrified me. I was like very squeamish. So the nurse idea went out the window. I like taking care of people, but that's a little too much for me. Yeah. Or it was at the age of 5. So I decided, I wanted to be a singer, but then at some point in time, you kind of start realizing it might not be realistic, because you think, well, it's a 1 in a million person that's going to make it. And so that was my mindset. I was like, I'm going to go and I'm going to do business. I got an entrepreneurship degree from Baylor University. And after Baylor, things in my life kept happening that were pushing me towards music. I went to the Dominican Republic and I taught there. I taught music in the Dominican Rite for 3 months after I graduated. And I was supposed to be a camp counselor at this. It was like it was a really neat program that still exists today. And it basically, they go into extreme poverty areas and start Montessori schools. Wow. So I was there. I was supposed to be just a camp counselor, but I'm fluent in Spanish. And so when they saw that and a music teacher had dropped out and that I had an extensive music background, I ended up being a music teacher. And when I got back after those 3 months of just being around the kids and being around music, I just knew I was supposed to do something in music. I had no idea what that was going to be. So that happened. And then I ended up going to a business conference with my parents. And I met a guy named Dean Sams, who's in the band Lonestar. I met his sister there. And that kind of snowballed into everything that happened in Nashville. But it's bizarre because none of it was planned. It was just things that came up in life. And that's what led me. Now, I thought I was going to record a couple of songs and be done. And it was going to be that bucket list item, CD on the shelf, busted out at parties. And I'm doing it as my full-time job.
That's crazy, isn't it? Isn't it weird? I say this to so many people, how like one thing that whether it was planned or not just changes so much.
Yeah, it does.
Oh
It's
my God.
crazy.
And like one person as well, sometimes you can meet somebody that like you say, just at a conference that you weren't even supposed to like meet them, you know?
Yeah, that had nothing to do with music at all, the conference. It was solely for business stuff that I was doing with my parents.
It's bizarre, isn't it? Isn't it
Yeah.
amazing? So what do you think makes the most successful artist?
I think that it's changed over the years. Because if you I think about people that the strategy of music has changed so much with the internet and with social media. Obviously, growing up, my favorite artists didn't have social media. You saw them in magazines. It was almost a mystery. You had no idea what was happening behind the scenes,
Yeah.
And so but now I think that it's so different because for me, being successful in music is not would it be really cool to win some awards? Yes. There are obviously some negative things that come with that, with fame and all and notoriety. But I think that in this day and age, there's such a platform to just engage with fans, to engage with people that really love your music, to bring them into the process.
Yeah.
And to give them, obviously, don't give everyone access to everything in your life. Although I feel like during 2020, I've given a lot of people access to like here I am gardening. This is normally nothing I would show you. I've never gardened before. I don't know what I'm doing, but
Brilliant.
Welcome. So I think that the biggest thing is just really engaging with people. It's not about you. It's about your relationship with the people that love your music, because you would be nothing if you didn't have those people listening to you and supporting you.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. And like you say, it's changed so much, music, hasn't it? And
yeah.
it's just the way that, like you say, you listen to it. When I was a child, like we had cassettes.
No, yeah, exactly.
And like I say this to the kids now, and I'm like, you have no idea how easily accessible music is to you.
Yeah. And to watch a music video, you had to sit in front of the TV on like Saturday morning and wait for the top 40 countdown to come on. Like, it wasn't like you could just go on the internet and watch whatever, let's pull up all the music videos from this one person. That wasn't a thing.
No. And also, like you say, you had to wait until it was released, like there would be this big thing, whereas now, like, it's just online, and you're like, oh,
yeah.
What, did they release another song?
Yeah, it's so true. You don't have to go down to Target or Walmart or whatever your local music store is. Although that was so much fun, like browsing. I still love CDs. I love reading. I'm so nerdy. I love to see who the people are behind the scenes, who wrote the song, who played guitar, who did this. Like, I love all of that.
Yeah. So talking about loving all of that, is that because you like to collaborate with different people, or is it just like, how you can hear this sound and go, oh yeah, that sounds very much like this album?
Yeah. I think I became more and more interested in it the more I got into music. I always enjoyed it, but now that I've actually met a lot of these people, or I aspire to write songs with them, or but you do start to notice, you'll be like, I wonder if so-and-so wrote this song, because it sounds like a song, like the way that they put those words together sounds exactly how they would do it. It doesn't sound anything like this other song, but the style is so similar.
Yeah, sure. So what would you say have been your greatest achievements in your career so far?
Oh gosh, it's so many, like I said, there's been so many random things that have happened. I'm probably gonna I'll think of something later and be like, oh, that wasn't that big. Like, that was big. The people that I've been able to meet, like, this is gonna sound very weird, but it's just like, there's people's phone numbers that I have that, like, I never thought I would be friends with those people. And I don't know, that's not an accomplishment by any means. But it's like you getting to meet people that you're like, oh my gosh, like, I we text, like, that's weird. Okay, that's not really an accomplishment. That's just something that
it is
weird.
I know exactly what you mean. I'm exactly the same throughout this process. Like, I've spoke to so many people. Like, obviously musical theatre is our big thing, 'cause that's the company that I run. And like, the fact now that I've got mobile numbers and email addresses, and people like popping up like, hi, how are you doing? I'm just like, this is insane.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think that the biggest thing for me are probably, I got to play in a celebrity softball game.
Wow.
And that was I actually fundraised for it. So I was like they opened it up and they did a contest, and the two people that raised the most money We would do online. This is back when I first started. It was back when we like Stage It had just started. And so which I still do shows on Stage It every week. And we did a show and we fundraised money. So all of the tips went to City of Hope, which does a ton of different research for cancer, for diabetes, for tons of stuff. And that I got on the softball team. So I was there with like Florida Georgia Line and, you know, Vince Gill and all of these massive country artists. And I was like, I do not belong here, but fake it till you make it. You know, I have pictures with all these people and I'm like, how am I here? But that's how, you know, you make relationships with them because you're doing, you know, Danielle Bradbury was there. And I just remember she looked at me, she's like, I have no idea how to play softball and I'm terrified. And it was one of those things that you bond with these people and that's where relationships start. I don't want to be like trying to field balls. Like that sounds terrible. Like these people over here are really competitive and I don't play sports. So.
Excellent. That was so funny. That's so funny. So have you had any dreams or goals? Do you set yourself goals or do you just kind of like go with the ride?
Yes and no. I kind of look at the year, and obviously this year it's been interesting because it's totally, I mean, we've all had to change. And we were so excited because we had just been signed by a booking agency, which we had been doing all of our own booking. And so they had put all these shows on the books for this year. And so it was like heartbreaking that something you worked so hard to we knew exactly what agency we wanted to be with. And so we had been like milking it, like just trying so hard to like get on, you know, to be a fit for them. And, but what we do is I will have goals a lot of times for where I'd like to be, when we have a new song come out, you know, okay, I would love to get this many streams. How can we make that happen? You know, do we need to run some sort of promotion? I would love to, you know, I'd love to have this many YouTube subscribers. And so we kind of set goals and then we're like, is that feasible? Okay, now what's the plan? Let's work backwards. How in the world do we get there?
Yeah, sure. So talk about then the dreams that you've hit, the goals that you've hit so far.
One of the biggest ones was that our debut single for our band, Royal South, got to 1 million streams in less than a year, which as we were never on any big Spotify playlist, that was all through us just pushing the song and fans listening to the song. We've had some crazy chart positions, especially in the UK. We were in the top 10. Our debut single was in the top 10 in the all genre iTunes charts, which is crazy. That's to see your name next to like Ed Sheeran and Taylor Swift. Pretty insane because that's a lot of people supporting you and buying your music. And independently, we don't have a massive budget, you know, to spend on promotion. So you're just counting on your fans, which is really amazing because again, like I said, that's a team thing. We couldn't do what we do without them. So that's really big. I've been able to tour with people. I really wanted to tour with Lonestar because I was working with those guys and then they asked me to go on tour with them, which was really awesome. And it was 15 minutes and it was the best 15 minutes, the easiest gig you ever have. Like didn't really get paid anything, but like was just happy as I could be. I feel like those are some goals that we exceeded. You know, it was one of those things we didn't even think that was possible to get to, but we exceeded our goals there.
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah. Just like you say, like Lonestar for me, country music since I was little has always been something that I've loved. And from like a UK perspective, you know, it's not so big here as it is in America. You know, we don't have our own country stars. We support those that are over Norway. We're very supportive in that sense, but we're not homegrown then. Like we don't produce them. So I mean, people used to, when I was younger, be like, who are you listening to, or what is that? Because it wasn't something particularly growing up, you know. It was all Britney, Bewitched, those kinds of things. Like those kinds of
stuff. Oh my gosh. Oh yes.
That was you know, that was the type of stuff that we listened to. So I mean, you know, so you saying Lonestar, I'm like,
Well, that's the thing, like to work with those guys and to go on tour with them. The drummer did my first ever music video, which was awesome. I wrote a lot of songs and my first full-length album was produced by the keyboard player. And so that's just nuts. You know, like those are people again that you're like, I'll never forget. Dean, the keyboard player, his sister, was like, oh, just give him a call. Here's his number. And I'm like, you don't call those people. Like, no. Like, you don't call them. And I remember I didn't call him. And she kept messaging me like, I told him you're going to call. He's waiting for your call. And I'm like, these people have like they've won Grammys. They've had #1 hits, like Amazed, international #1 smash. Like, you don't call those people. And so I got really brave and I sent him a message on Facebook. That was literally our first interaction because I was so terrified. I'm like, I'm not going to call him. No, like, that's terrifying. So I called, or I sent him a message and I gave him my number. He's like, oh, we're on the road, but we'll be home next week, so I'll give you a call then. And I was walking into the bank when he called. And I had no idea what I was doing, right? I'd never recorded a song before. I love music. I sang. I'd never written a song until I moved to Nashville. Like, because I was terrified. I didn't know where to start. I was honestly almost like avoiding my dream because I was scared. And I'm glad, obviously, that has all changed. But I will never forget, I was walking up to the teller and he's asking me these questions about you're speaking another language. And now it's all stuff that's in my everyday life. But I'm like, I've never recorded anything, so I don't know what any of that is.
Yeah.
And so I always feel like you got to check your ego at the door because no one wants to deal with that. Like, especially on the business side of things, like no one likes to know it all.
No. And also as well, like you said before, like the music industry has changed so much since we were children. Do you know what I mean? You're talking, between 20 and 30 years ago, it's changed dramatically.
Yeah.
So if that is the case, then you have to learn and adapt with it. So you can't be like, oh, well, I know everything because I've been listening to music for years. People are like, who cares? Like you have to be as well, like you said, approaching these people that like you just treasure and you just, look up to, like Lonestar is just huge. But what's really nice is the fact that you, like you said, you were really worried to talk to him, but he was just such a nice guy. And I think isn't that brilliant to know that even when you are so big, you are still just a person. And when somebody reaches out to you, how lovely that you can go, yeah, cool, I'll help you out. I'll talk to you. And that goes such a long way, doesn't it?
Yeah, it did. I mean, it was like I was part of their family, he actually, this is such a weird story. My dad coached him in high school basketball because my dad was a coach when I was growing up. And so it was one of my dad's like first years coaching. He happened to they didn't keep in touch. Like they reconnected, about the time that I started music. But that was just so bizarre. I'm like, this is so weird. But I went with his daughter to cheerleading practice. I would go with their whole family to the local school's fundraiser at the fast food place. Everyone is a person and they have things going on, but to be kind of like on that level with people that you saw on album covers and in music videos your entire life is just mind-blowing.
Crazy, absolutely crazy. So let's talk Christmas. Do you love Christmas?
I do love Christmas.
Amazing. So it's just around the corner. What traditions do you have with your family?
Okay, let's see. Well, first of all, my grandmother has already put up all of her Christmas trees. Yes, they're up. They're up. She's probably playing Christmas music if I know her because she loves it so much. So it's funny because whenever you're like, well, isn't this everyone's tradition? You're like, it's what we do every year. So I have a really small family. My brother and I are the only grandkids. My dad was an only child, and my mom has 2 brothers. So typically everyone comes to my parents' house. My grandma lives with my parents, so she lives in a little house in their backyard. So we're all together for the entire time. Usually we open all of our gifts on Christmas Eve. And then we open stockings and all of Santa's gifts on Christmas morning. So we do all of our family gift exchange, and it's fun. We've started now. You can't see it. I'm wearing some of the pajama bottoms that we get matching pajamas. They were leopard last year, so I have on leopard pajama bottoms.
I love that.
Yeah, I know. There's a commercial I really love right now that's out in the US, and it's for an insurance company, but it's this guy and he walks out with no pants on, well in not underwear, but he's wearing he doesn't have on any jeans or slacks or anything. And so he walks out and they're he's like, oh, I thought we were doing the Zoom thing, and their friends are all there, and it makes me laugh every time. I'm like, yes, this is totally me. I get ready from the waist up.
I've done exactly the same thing. Yeah, I am. I'm in sweatpants.
Yeah, I'm like, you get to the point where you're like, dude, the jeans actually fit. Like, maybe we should put them on and give that a try.
2021.
Goals. I got some goals. Not in music. But yeah, we do that. We open all of our gifts. We usually we'll do like, there's always a fight over what foods to have Christmas Eve, because we normally do like snacks, like sandwiches and like a cheese plate and all, like just snack foods.
Yeah.
But we always end up with too many sandwiches. And so my grandma is always like, we're not doing sandwiches this year. And every year we end up with the sandwiches because one person will always be like, we're not doing sandwiches. And so it ends up with all this stuff. And it's like, this year she told me again, she was asking me for some recipes for some things I've made. And she was like, we're doing this year. I'm like, okay, well, we need to confirm with everybody that that's going to be okay.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
I love it. We're the same. We're a really small family. And yeah, we get together, and it's lovely, isn't it, that you all have your own traditions.
Yeah. It's great.
So, as a singer, I've got to ask you, have you got a favorite Christmas song?
Let's see. Well, people think that it's Frosty the Snowman because that was the first song I ever sang. Like, I started singing about the time I started like really talking, and so people are like, well, sing Frosty. I'm like, that is not my favorite song. I don't even know all the words to, like, I have to look at the words to remember like all of them. I love Silent Night. I love all of the traditional songs, like all the hymns. Those are really my favorite. Silent Night, I actually recorded Silent Night and Hark the Herald Angels Sing, because those are two of my favorite songs. Yeah. Oh Holy Night is always beautiful.
Oh, yeah, like, I love that one.
So many gorgeous renditions of it.
Yeah, definitely. What about a favorite artist? If there was somebody you could collaborate with, anyone in the world, who do you reckon you'd want to do?
This always is the most generic answer. I feel like it's like, did you even think about it? And I have thought about it, and I have a reason. Okay, I would love to do something with Taylor Swift. Yes, I'm like, okay, yes, very basic answer, but I feel like people are like, okay, but I would be so interested to see her creative process, because I think that not just creatively but business wise, and I know like Glenn, my boyfriend and bandmate, he has played on tours with her, and just the stories of like how she interacts with the people she works with, the people that, her fans, all of that, the whole thing that she did was so genius. Like, I would just be so interested to like collaborate and see what that process was like, and just to be a fly on the wall. And well, I guess I would actually be involved in it, so it wouldn't be a fly on the wall, but I'd be a fly on the wall too, and just see how that works. I think that'd be really interesting.
Yeah, that's the thing. Sometimes, like, you love people's music, but actually you're more interested to see how they develop like their creative ideas and stuff. Yeah,
and especially like moving here and hearing a lot of behind the scenes stories. It's just been so interesting. And I've been to several of her tours, and I just watching the whole thing be put on is, I've been to a lot of big tour shows and tours, but that is just, again, so fascinating. And to have that many different recreations of something, and to be like so into it, like we went from like Lover to Folklore, and we're like the look and everything, like, everything goes. It's just really interesting to me.
Crazy. And what's it like where you live? Do you have traditions there? Is it so different to where you used to live?
Tennessee and Texas are super similar. They're both like southern states. But I feel like it's so weird because I'm on the road so much that a lot of times I don't feel like I know I live in Nashville, but in a normal year, we travel so much that it's hard. We this year have actually we told ourselves, let's go and do some of the sites. Like, I had been to something at the zoo, but I'd never been to the zoo. We have one of our presidents, Andrew Jackson, his home is 10 minutes from my house, and I pass it every time I drive down the road. I'd never been there. And I ended up like, you can bring your dogs and all this stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is right here. And I could have the membership is really inexpensive. They have like book clubs and events and stuff. Like, they've got a wine like a winery there. And I'm like, why did I never stopped in here? And so this year we've been very intentional about exploring the city we live in. I've lived here for 8 years now, and Glenn's lived here for like 20. So I'm like, he's lived here for even longer than I have, and we hadn't done these things. It's crazy.
Yeah, madness. But that's the thing, sometimes when you're really busy, like with what you're doing, and you know, so like focused on getting this done and that done, like it's such a busy life.
Yeah.
You don't realize literally what's on your doorstep.
Exactly. Well, there are things people ask all the time. They come in town, they're like, oh, what should we do? And I'm like, that's an interesting question. And so you just name off things. You're like, never been there, but it looks cool. I know it's there. Like, other people seem to like it. So now I can actually say, we also have like an arboretum. And I went there for the first time as well, because they were doing dog nights. And so, it's just like, okay, there's 3 things right there that I can tell people, well, this is what this is like. I can actually give them a personal experience and saying, like, here's the brochure, like, check it out.
Yeah. See what it's like and let me know.
Yeah, go to their website. Cool.
So you must have like toured lots of really cool places. Is there somewhere you've loved, or is there somewhere you'd really, really like to go?
Gosh, well, so I love to travel outside of touring. So that's like a weird thing. Like, we're on the road so much, and then I'm like, let's go on the road again. Yeah. I would love, there's a lot of places in the West Coast that I would love to go. It's usually just more expensive, especially if they want a full band, because it's not drivable. I mean, it'd take you 2 days to get to like California or Washington from Nashville. So it's like, I would love to do, like, Montana is such a beautiful state. Montana and like Wyoming, Utah, they've got such amazing, like, there's such amazing nature, and it's so beautiful that I would love to do a show there. So I would have an excuse to like go wander. We also, I think next on our big list is to go to Australia. And if we go, Glenn's sister lives there. She moved there, I think 2 or 3 years ago. And so we need to go visit her anyways. But we're like, okay, scout out we need you to live there for a little while, scout out the places so that we can put in a show. And even if nobody shows up, like, you can say we go to Australia.
Brilliant. Have you ever done Europe, UK? Have you ever done any of that?
Yes, we are actually supposed to be in the UK. We were supposed to be there from September 10th, and then into Ireland, both Ireland and Northern Ireland. So we should have been coming back at the beginning of October. But usually in the UK, we do about 20 dates a year. And then we just started adding in Ireland. So we'd had people asking us for so long to do Northern Ireland. And so we finally got a Belfast date, and then we had 3 in Ireland. So we were so excited to be expanding from the UK into some other like European countries. And then it all got rescheduled. So we'll be back in September 2021, and all the dates will be in Cardiff as well. Yay! That wasn't a 2020 date, so we've booked it in for 2021. So yeah.
Yay! I'll come and see you. We're literally 2 hours away from Cardiff. 2 hours.
Yeah, and then people are like, well, you start going different places, and obviously it's hard for us because it's like once you're there, you try to pack in as much as you can. So we go everywhere from like, we've done like Portsmouth or Southampton all the way up to Edinburgh and Glasgow. And even we were talking about maybe doing Aberdeen as well this time. But you try to go to as many places as you can. I have 2 dogs, so that's been fun. We've tried to do live shows and keep ourselves on a schedule, because that was the hardest thing for the first like 6 weeks. I was like, I kept thinking, it'll just be 2 weeks. Oh, just another 2 weeks. And then you realize, okay, I'm going to have to get a schedule, because there's, I can't live like this. I'm so used to routine that it was fun, but vacation's over. I'm trying, and obviously like doing touristy stuff in Nashville that was open. So all the outdoor stuff, going and finding, we, love to find like waterfalls and stuff like that. So we've gone out to some of the waterfalls that are here, and things like that. A lot outdoors.
Yeah, that's the thing. And have you got good weather? I don't know what your weather's like with you.
It's wonderful. Yeah. Here in the summer it can get kind of hot, but right now it's perfect. I would say the degrees here, but then you would have to get a calculator out and like make the conversion. But it's been like in the, I would say like mid 70s, like 75, which is, pretty much perfect perfect weather.
Yeah. Do you have cold winters?
It'll snow here maybe once and everything shuts down for like 2 days because people don't know how to drive in the snow and the ice. But I would say it's not too bad. It's pretty warm, but it will usually about once a year. We'll have maybe a week of really cold weather, which can obviously vary. But if it gets below a certain temperature, they'll close school because they don't want kids waiting for the school bus. We were just having this conversation with a friend of ours who lives in Mexico because we talk about a last minute trip. We went on Travelocity and like 5 days later we're on a plane in Mexico, and it was so cheap. I was like, it was one of those things where like I could not pass it up. Like, we don't have anything going on. But we were talking to a friend that lives down there, and she said that you think obviously on the coast of Mexico, like it's hot and it's hot all year round. Like people are literally wearing a bathing suit on the beach. But when it gets down to like when it's in December, she said, oh, you'll see them like wearing like mittens and like a beanie and like a sweater. And she's like, I'm sweating, like so hot that I'm sweating. But because they're acclimated to that weather, she's like that. A lot of people here think it's cold because it's dropped, 15 degrees. And for them, that's cold. And I'm like, all right, well, I totally get it. I guess if I lived there for long enough, that's probably what happened to me too.
Yeah. That's the thing, isn't it? You just kind of like adapt to wherever you are.
Yeah, exactly.
So my very last question for you is, what's next for you? What do you have in place? I mean, it's really, really difficult, like we've discussed, that, we can't really put too much in place, but do you have certain things that you're hoping to do? And
yeah, we do. So we're going back into the studio because at this point now we've released all of our music. Like, well, crud, now we need to record some more things. We have songs we're ready to record, but we were just not sure, like, our producer, his name's Paul Worley, and he produced Lady Antebellum, like Need You Now and all that music. He's amazing. He produced the Dixie Chicks. And we just didn't know what he was planning on. Was he going back in the studio? Was he waiting? What was his team? What were they planning on doing? So he's told me that they're ready. They're just waiting on us for the date. So that's really exciting. So new music, we're hoping we haven't done for our band. I've got like on my own, like solo music, I've got music videos that I filmed, but we just have lyric videos for Royal South just because it's a big budget. And if you do it, you want to do it at a good quality and all of that. So we've been working on a budget, which is also hard when you're not working, but we're working on a budget to hopefully get a music video. We're sending a song out to country radio that'll go out within the next 2 weeks, which is really exciting. So yeah, those are kind of the big things. And then obviously we'll be in the UK, fingers crossed that it's like all happening in September of 2021. So.
Oh my gosh, yay! Yeah. Woohoo! So do you have like a really big following here?
Yeah, we do. It started before Country to Country started. Or it might have been, I think it was the year before. I had family that lived in London, and Glenn was going home to visit family. And so I said, well, what if we went at the same time? January, like November, December, and January are typically pretty slow for the music industry. And so, those are the times, there's no big festivals are really happening in the middle of winter. And so we decided that we would go to the UK together and do a show in Basildon in Essex at his like hometown club with some of his family friends. They'd never done live music there before. Wow. And so we did a show and it sold out. It was so crazy. And so we were like, okay. And then Country to Country started. And I think that with that, it was just kind of an organic, like grassroots thing. Like we never, besides maybe some stuff online, like we weren't pumping, we weren't doing like any sort of major promotion. But when Country to Country happened, it definitely broadened the horizons, I think, for country music. More people became familiar with it. It became cool to like country music. And so when that happened, it definitely helped us continue to build our fan base, because then it's word of mouth. Like, oh, who would be great at C2C, Royal South or SaraBeth or whatever. We've never played it, but at the same time, we always we try to tour at the opposite time of year that all of that is going on, so we're not competing with it too.
Yeah, yeah. Amazing. Well, I tell all my friends about you guys because I love your stuff.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much.
At all. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me. I'm sorry it took so long to like get this set up.
So much. Do you know what? It's the weirdest thing. Like this time has been so not busy. It's been busy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you're just trying to like fill your time with stuff, and then all of a sudden, like one thing leads to another, and you're like, oh my God, I'm so busy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, that's the same. Like we leave tomorrow morning to go on the road, and like I'm like, I don't even know what to do. I almost just want to just sit and watch Gilmore Girls all day because I don't want to try to start tackling things because it's too much to get accomplished before we leave tomorrow morning. And I'm like, what can be put off to like next Monday?
Yeah, I know exactly how you feel. I know exactly how you feel. Well, thank you so much and good luck with everything. And I'd love to stay in touch and I'll come and see you when you come to Cardiff.
Yeah, just message me.
I will do. I will do. Well, take care. Stay safe. Love to you all, and I'll speak to you soon.
All right, sounds good. Bye.
Bye.
SaraBeth, I had such a brilliant time, and I hope you all enjoyed watching. Take care, everyone. Lots of love to you all, and make sure you tune in next time for another fantastic guest. Can you believe we are just 3.5 weeks away from Christmas, from Tinseltown, from Scone? I've just had a thought. My Christmas tree goes right here usually, in this very, very spot where my chair is. Does that mean I get Christmas decorate? Oh, I'm panicking now. I'm gonna have to sort it all out. I think that's for another video. Take care, everyone, and here's a sneaky peek as to who's up next. Lots of love. Bye.